It starts with a sound, or maybe the lack of one. It's 6 a.m. The sun is just starting to hit the vinyl siding of the house across the street. Inside, the coffee pot is gurgling. Glug, glug, hiss. That sound used to be the background noise of a busy morning, the percussion section to a symphony of slamming doors, school buses, work boots, and arguments over who finished the milk. But today, that gurgle sounds like a cannon shot because it is the only sound in the world. You pour one cup, just one, you sit at the table, and your eyes drift, almost automatically, to the empty chair opposite you. There is a specific sound that an empty house makes. Have you heard it? It isn't just quiet. Quiet is what you prayed for when you were 40. Quiet is peaceful. Quiet is a luxury. But this is different. This is a silence that has weight. It presses on your eardrums. It hums from the refrigerator. It echoes when you set your metal spoon down on the porcelain saucer. It's a silence that feels like it's waiting for you to say something, but there is no one there to hear it. You stand up, you walk to the window, you look out at the empty street, and you feel it. That tightness in the chest, that hollow feeling in the gut. The Surgeon General calls this feeling an epidemic. The doctors and the researchers have run the numbers. They tell us that 1 in 3 older adults in this country feels this way at least once a week. They tell us that living with this kind of prolonged isolation is a mortality risk factor equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Think about that. The silence in your kitchen is doing as much damage to your heart as a pack-a-day habit. That's the medical diagnosis. That's the statistic. But you and I, we don't call it a statistic. We don't call it a mortality risk. We just call it Tuesday. Welcome back to the channel. I am glad you are here, truly, because today we are going to have the conversation that most of us are too proud to have. We are going to talk about the walls closing in. We are going to talk about the difference between being alone and being lonely. And, most importantly, we are going to talk about how to take that heavy, crushing silence and turn it into something that actually heals you. Because if you are listening to this, sitting in that big house you worked 40 years to pay off, feeling like a stranger in your own life, I want you to know one thing before we begin. You are not broken. You are simply in a trap. And today, we are going to break out. To understand why we feel this way, we have to look at the story we've been telling ourselves for the last 60 or 70 years. We Americans have a specific problem. We are obsessed, culturally obsessed, with independence. It is woven into our DNA. It is the story of the frontier. It is the story of the greatest generation and the boomers. From the time we turned 18, the script was written for us. Stand on your own 2 feet. Don't depend on anyone. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. We wore our self-reliance like a badge of honor. We didn't ask for help. We figured it out. We fixed the sink ourselves. We drove ourselves to the doctor. We prided ourselves on needing absolutely nothing from anyone. And let's be honest, that philosophy works great when you are 30. When you are 30, independence looks like success. You buy the house with the big yard. You build the fence, maybe a 6-foot privacy fence so the neighbors don't see you grilling on Sunday. You move 2 states away for that better job because you are chasing the dream. You build a fortress of solitude and you fill it with your achievements. But time plays a trick on us. The script that worked at 30 becomes a disaster at 80. The kids, they followed the example you set. They moved to Chicago or Denver or Houston for their careers. The neighbors you knew, they moved to Florida or they passed away. And suddenly, that independence you fought so hard for, It has mutated. It isn't a trophy anymore. It has become a cage. This is what researchers call the American independence paradox. The very values that made us successful adults are the exact values that make us isolated seniors. We value self reliance so much that we refuse community living or asking for help until it is too late. I hear it all the time. I catch myself saying it. Maybe you've said it this week. I don't want to be a burden. I want you to pause and feel the weight of that sentence. I don't want to be a burden. That sentence is the most dangerous string of words in the English language for a senior. It sounds noble. It sounds like you're being considerate. But what is it really doing? Because we don't want to be a burden, we stop calling. We stop asking for rides to the grocery store. We stop inviting people over because the house is a little messy and our hips hurt too much to scrub the baseboards like we used to. We hide our struggles. We retreat behind those paid off doors. We choose dignity over connection. But the price of that dignity is absolute crushing isolation. We sit in our paid off houses, surrounded by our stuff, the china we don't use, the books we've already read, the tools gathering dust in the garage, and we starve for a conversation. We won the game, we got the American dream, we got the peace and quiet, and now we are drowning in it. So here we are. The house is empty, the phone isn't ringing. What do we do? Do we sell the house and move into a dorm? Do we force ourselves into clubs we don't like? Maybe, but for most of us, the logistical change is too big. The change has to happen somewhere else first. It has to happen inside our own heads. We have to understand the profound difference between two words that we often use interchangeably, but which actually mean opposite things. We need to learn the difference between loneliness and solitude. If you were to look through the window of a house and see a person sitting alone in an armchair holding a cup of tea, you wouldn't know which state they were in. From the outside, loneliness and solitude look exactly the same. It is just a person alone. But on the inside, the difference is the difference between starving and fasting. Loneliness is the feeling that something is missing. It is a subtractive emotion. It is a hollow ache. It is looking at that empty chair across the table and feeling pain. It is the sensation of abandonment. Researchers define loneliness as imposed and depleting. It is something that happens to you. It feels like a punishment. Solitude is different. Solitude is the feeling that you are present. It is looking at the empty chair and not seeing an absence, but seeing space, room to breathe, room to think. Solitude is chosen and restorative. It is active. It is something you do. I remember the day it changed for me. I want to share this because I think it might resonate with you. I was sitting in that kitchen we talked about. The coffee was getting cold. I was spiraling. I was running the poor me tape in my head. Nobody called. The kids are too busy. I am invisible. I am just waiting to die in this kitchen. I felt small. I felt like a victim of the silence. And then, for some reason, I just stopped. I took a breath. I looked at the coffee cup, and a new thought crept in. I realized I can drink this coffee as slowly as I want. Nobody is rushing me. I don't have to drive anyone to soccer practice. I don't have to go to work. I can sit here and read the paper for 2 hours if I want to, and nobody can stop me. In that moment, the silence shifted. It stopped feeling like a vacuum and started feeling like a luxury. I stopped waiting for the world to come break down my door and fill my house. I decided to inhabit the house myself. I stood up, I turned on some jazz music, loud. I didn't just stand over the sink and eat a piece of toast like a ghost haunting my own pantry. I cooked a real lunch. I set a placemat. I used the good fork because I realized I am a guest in my own house and I deserve a good lunch. That was the moment loneliness started to turn into solitude. The situation didn't change. I was still alone in the house, but the texture of the silence changed. It went from being sharp and cold to being warm and golden. Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds nice, but I'm still lonely. You are right. You can't just flip a switch and make the feeling go away forever. Solitude is a skill, it is a muscle. You have to practice it, just like you practiced your golf swing or your knitting or your typing. So, how do we practice it? How do we take the independence paradox that has isolated us and turn it into a source of strength? Here is the senior wisdom for today. If you are alone, you must be a good companion to yourself. Think about it this way. If you were hosting a dear friend, someone you loved and respected, you wouldn't let them sit in the dark, staring at a blank wall, feeling miserable, would you? No. You'd put on music. You'd open the curtains to let the light in. You'd offer them a drink. You'd ask them what they wanted to do. You have to do that for yourself. You have to treat yourself like the honored guest. I have developed a little system I call the solitude practice. It has 3 rules. Rule number 1, curate your environment. If your house feels like a tomb, that is because you are treating it like one. When you are lonely, you tend to close in. You pull the shades. You leave the lights off to save electricity. You let the dust settle. Stop that. Change the sensory input. Open the windows. Let the air change. If the silence is pressing on your eardrums, as we said earlier, then break the silence. But don't break it with the noise of the news. Fill it with music. Fill it with an audiobook. Fill it with the sound of the birds. Buy fresh flowers every Tuesday. It sounds trivial, but it brings a living thing into the room. It demands that you pay attention to the space. You are reclaiming your territory. Rule number 2, create, don't just consume. This is the big one. The television is a loneliness machine. It shouts at you, but it doesn't listen. It gives you the illusion of company, but it leaves you feeling emptier when you turn it off. When you are feeling that ache of loneliness, turn the TV off. You need to switch your brain from passive to active. Make something. It doesn't have to be a masterpiece. Fix the toaster that's been broken for 3 years. Write a letter, a real one, with a pen and a stamp to an old friend. Garden, bake bread. When you are creating, you're never lonely because you are in partnership with the work. You are focused. You are solving problems. The quiet becomes necessary for your focus rather than a reminder of your isolation. Rule number 3, the out and about rule. Solitude does not mean house arrest. This is where we fight the independence paradox. We have to re-enter the world, but on our own terms. I want you to try this. Go to a diner or a coffee shop. Take a book. Sit at the counter or a small table. You don't have to talk to everyone. You don't have to be the life of the party. Just be alone among people. There is a profound comfort in the hum of life, the clinking of silverware, the murmur of other conversations, the smell of coffee. It reminds you that you are part of the tribe. You are still in the stream of humanity. You are witnessing life. And here is the secret. When you master solitude, when you are content sitting there with your book and your coffee, you stop vibrating with neediness. You stop looking desperate for connection. And paradoxically, that is when people want to be around you. You become approachable. You become the wise elder in the coffee shop, not the lonely senior in the corner. We've talked about the trap. We've talked about the shift in perspective. We've talked about the practice. The sun is fully up now. The light in your kitchen has changed. I want to ask you to try something tomorrow morning. When you wake up to that silence, don't shrink from it. Don't immediately turn on the news to drown it out because you're afraid of your own thoughts. Sit with it. Pour that coffee, look at that empty chair, And instead of seeing what is missing, I want you to say this to yourself: I am safe. I am here. This is my time. Reclaim your space. The silence isn't your enemy, it is your canvas. It is the blank page on which you can write the next chapter of your life. And please, remember the research. Remember that 1 in 3 of us are feeling this. If you admit you are lonely, it doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you a burden. It just makes you human. But staying lonely, wallowing in it, letting it become that 15 cigarette a day health risk, that is a choice. And it is a choice you don't have to make today. Call your daughter, not because you need a ride or because you need her to fix the iPad. Call her just to tell her a funny story you remembered. Go to the library. Say hello to the cashier at the grocery store. You have survived 70, 80 years on this planet. You've survived wars, you have survived recessions, you have survived heartbreaks, losses, and illnesses. You are a survivor. You can survive a quiet Tuesday morning. In fact, you can do more than survive it. You can enjoy it. This is your time. You've earned the peace. Now, teach yourself how to live in it. And if this message spoke to you, if you felt that heavy silence press on your chest, I'd love to hear your story. Drop a comment below and share one small thing you're going to try this week. Maybe it's opening the curtains tomorrow morning or finally taking that book to the diner. Your voice might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Remember, you're not alone in this. We're learning together. Keep struggling, keep learning.